Thanks for spending some time here. A lot of things going on, so many stages. And I think also another great thing to point out is like super good to see new faces in the bear market. And hence the topic today, how do you survive building through the bear and the bull, because crypto is very cyclical. A bit about what this panel is for, what this keynote is for, right? So this keynote is really for anyone who are either building, in different functions, or even leaders or founders of different protocols or projects, or even investors, right? Because investors also need to understand how, companies are run to really advise and see what to invest in. Yeah, so pretty much, a quick background about myself before we dive into all of this. Studied economics at UC Berkeley, went into TradFi before downing the rabbit hole of crypto. So after TradFi, I spent some years at Tencent doing product management. Was going to go to MBA, but then dropped out of Harvard Business School, and then started Alpha Finance, which also is in DeFi. And now we're also building Stella, which is also in DeFi. So we've been building in DeFi since 2020. And continuing to build. So we've been through the bull and the bear, and now I'm gonna share, some tips and tricks of surviving all those cycles. Yeah, a bit about Alpha Finance and Stella. We built leverage products in DeFi. So back in, the good old days of bull market, the peak usage of our product was around $2 billion. We built on a lot of EVM chains and also invested by investors globally. So building in Web3, right? It's very, very different from Web2. And I'm sure you all know if you're already in Web3, because it's very cyclical and the cycle is very fast. So if you're in Web2, let's say tourism industry, right? It goes through cycle too, but not as quick as 2 years. So which means that you have to be very, very, adaptive of when and how you build in the bull market and also in the bear. So this is not only just for founders, but also let's say if you're in BD, in tech, in marketing, you have to really understand how cyclical or how cycles actually impact building in crypto. So building in bull, right? I'm gonna first start from what do you focus on, and then go into hey, what does that actually mean? What do you do, right? But as a focus, you really have to drive value, capture value, because there's gonna be a lot of usage in bull. And there's very minimal in bear, right? So you don't have to focus too much on the back office, the culture. Leave that on the MVP side, right? So everything that's related to driving product usage, capturing the value, whether it's treasury management, tokenomics. So all of those should be the main focus. And just keep repeating. It's gonna be really, really tiring for 2 years, but then it's gonna save a lot of time and a lot of runway for you in the bear. So what that actually means, let's say if you're a leader, whether you're leading a team, you're leading a company, what that means is that you have to move really, really, really fast in the bull. So when you move really fast, it's not that you're doing tons of things that may not matter, but you have to really understand what are the things that really drive the needle or move the needle in your team, in your company, and spread yourself thin in a sense that you may not just work on the partnerships, let's say with one partner, right? You have to spread yourself thin, doing a lot of partnerships, capturing that partnerships through, let's say, for example, tokenomics, or doing different campaigns with the marketing. So there are going to be a lot of things that you have to really focus on. And as a leader, final thing that's really, really important is, because there are going to be a lot of things that you have to work on, because there are going to be a lot of usages, right? So you have to be really good at painting pictures and connecting the dots, because there are going to be a lot of information overload in the bull market. So you have, as a leader, you really have to communicate to your team, communicate to your community, how it all really combines to the bigger picture. And in the end, after, let's say, bull market kind of slows down, you actually see how all those pictures will really kind of combine. Last point here on building in bull is, how do you grow the team? How do you maintain the team? Because it's the key part. I've seen a lot of the projects or company that have to close down or have to really significantly pivot because they manage the team very differently, and I would say wrong strategy to manage the team in the bull. So you should not scale to your team too quickly, because in the bull market there are going to be a lot of opportunities, right? And those opportunities should actually be more of you as a leader leading it, and your team helping you to execute it. The reason I say that is because a lot of times, it's really hard to have a new joiner, like let's say people who have, haven't gone through last bull or last bear to actually know and evaluate and drive the strategy, right? So which means that you have to drive a lot of the strategies, even though it's different areas, you as a leader, but your team itself, they have to be really agile, versatile, and executing a lot of things. For example, in business team, they need to know growth, marketing, product. You should not have 3 different teams in the non-tech. So that's an example, right? Now shifting gears to the bear, which is like what we're here in this market and maybe more relevant. So 3 main things to focus on. One is surviving, which means that a lot of the, let's say, cleaning up thing that you kind of postpone in the bull, this is now the best time to clean up, whether it's back office, team, finance, accounting. So, do that first. And then second is stay relevant, which is really, really important. I've seen quite a number of companies or projects, and they think that, in bear market, we have time. They're going to take some time to build, which is good, but they also need to, continue to stay relevant, whether it's engaging with the community, continue to show that there's a long-term vision, continue to be here, networking, and pretty much, once you continue to stay relevant, once you're in the bull market, you're going to come back a lot stronger. And finally, prepare for the bull. This is more of like on the product and on the project side, which is you have to really build for the future because the current has minimal demand, right? Like let's say right now, there's quite minimal demand for on-chain usages, for gaming usages, or even trading in general. So you cannot build for the current market, but you have to kind of envision how the market's going to be, envision how the demand's going to be, and then kind of apply that to your product and imagine, okay, let's say, for example, in DeFi, right? Like personally, I think the new wave of demand is going to come through RWAs, the real world assets. So as a Stella, as an Alpha Finance, how do we actually link that to the product that we're building and make it such that we can also benefit from that growth of the new demand that we envision? As a leader in the bear, really, really tough. There's going to be a phase of restructuring you have to go through because you might refocus on a certain thing. You might, let's say, overhire. But I think it's something that you really, really have to. Another thing that's also great is also that you can have a lot of time to like upskill yourself and your team. Because in the bull, you're going to be focusing so much on driving value. You may not, get trained or even like aware on how you actually manage finance team or treasury management. So this is a very good time to really up your skill on all things. And finally, really to grow the network because a lot of the builders who are still, building in the bear or even investors investing in the bear, these are the ones who you have to, kind of time and evaluate who you should hang out and like network with. But a lot of these people will be very, very influential and driving a lot of the key things in the bull because a lot of the times it's coming through experience investing and building in the bull and bear to actually combine and build a lot better in the next bull. So I would say networking and the connections we have in the bear right now is going to be a lot more important than a lot of the connections that you get in the next bull. Finally, building in the bear on the team side. So this is the good time to actually weed out not the right fit because I'm pretty sure every team, every company will have people with not the right fit. They might come to crypto having different expectations or alignments. This is the time that you need the people who really believe in your company, in your team because bear market's really tough and it's a really long time as well. So hire the right people, fire the wrong people, restructure. And the training part becomes really important in the bear because, as you recall, in the bull market, right? I said that the team mainly becomes more of the executioner, like helping you as a leader to execute a lot of things because you don't have time to train them how to strategize, different areas. But this is actually in the bear market the good time that they can get trained. For example, if in the bull market, someone in the BD team was executing. Now this is a good time for them to connect to other DeFi protocols, other projects, and actually come up with a new BD strategy because a lot of things in the bear market move a lot slower. So very good environment to actually train your team. Finally, morale and culture. So all the things that you kind of ignore in the bull on the team side is actually going to be a lot more important in the bear. So which means that you have to really keep the team, keep the company together. A lot of the thoughts outside will also impact your company. So as a leader, you really have to, importantly, have the right people, but also at the same time, making sure the culture and the morale is very good. And yeah, I actually want to leave some time for questions because I'm pretty sure a lot of the content there may be just generic. I want to customize a lot of the things to the audience as well. So if you have any questions not related to this or maybe even related to the DeFi markets or what my views are on when the next bull is going to be, although not financial advice, feel free to ask. It's a very open panel anyways. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all for now. And please open the floor for any questions.
I've been wondering, like, what is the main distinction between XRP and XLM for a while now? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it becomes, well, especially in crypto, right? There are two main things. One is the tech itself, but one is the narrative. And I think a lot of the projects, they have different strengths, right? For example, if you look at, ADA or even, Polkadot, they may be better on the narrative side. And I think that's the same for Ripple as well. I mean, they're very good at narrative, and also their tech is really strong, targeting more on the institutional adoption, cross-border payments. So yeah, and I think especially if you saw the recent news on SEC case in which Ripple is now getting more actually freed up from the legal case. So I think a lot of the adoption is actually going through Ripple, and their network in Asia is really really large. Yeah.
Hi. Just wanted to ask, especially from your experience with Alpha, you went from fourth quarter 2020, not much going on, to billions in the next 6-8 months. How does that affect your psyche? You probably never had to deal with, from 0 to billions in half a year. How does that affect your morale? You wake up every morning. What's that thought process like as a founder?
Yeah, I think one key thing that I learned and really important, and luckily I have like good network around me, so I learn from them as I grow as well, is that you never, like let's say like once you succeed, you never always be successful, especially in crypto because things change very quickly. Like news cycles, you have to continue to maintain, you have to continue to rebuild. There are a lot of new protocols all the time, so we never think that we're successful. We never think that we're big because we need to make sure that we continue to build for the future. Whatever achievements we have in the past is great, but we don't anchor to it. So I think that mindset really helps a lot. And by having that mindset, like it also doesn't pressure yourself too, because you don't always think that okay, this is what you have, and then how do you build even more? Yeah. All right, then if that's the case, then thank you so much for being here. Good luck with whatever you're building. Thanks for spending the time. Thank you.